Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to the nominees. I note that 3 of you are Virginians, and Virginia is proud of each of you. Mr. Godek, in particular, I want to commend you in your current role, the work that you've done with Afghan refugee resettlement at the State Department. I don't think we give it enough attention here that in 90 days, the United States helped 126,000 people come out of Afghanistan, about 50,000 to other nations, 76,000 to the United States. Virtually all of them came into Virginia at Dulles Airport. They were then assigned to one of 8 military bases for processing, 3 of which were in Virginia. As of February, all those bases were closed, and the 76,000 in the United States were now in communities, supported by families, supported by churches and other nonprofit groups all over the United States. I don't think that story has been told enough. I have suggested before that I think it would be a good idea for this committee to talk about get an update on the status of these 76,000 as well as the 50,000 who we helped evacuate to third countries. We do know there are others in Afghanistan who continue to want to come to the United States, and I think that would also be an appropriate topic to delve into, what more we can do about that. But just that number, 126,000 in 90 days, by order of comparison, in the aftermath of the Vietnam War, it took months and years to bring 120,000 Vietnamese to the United States. In the aftermath of World War II, we brought about 65,000 displaced people from Europe, primarily Jewish Europeans, to the United States. That took 5 years to bring 75,000 European Jews to the United States in the aftermath of World War II. The fact that you and your colleagues in this administration was able to help 76,000 Afghans begin a new chapter of life here and another 50,000 in other countries where they would be safer than Afghanistan is worthy of some attention, and I hope we might do that. Mr. Abraham, I want to ask you a question. It's good to see you again. I want to ask you a question about ASEAN. 4 of the 10 ASEAN nations have border disputes with China. So as somebody who does not consider myself an expert in the region, I look at that as, that's interesting. So what does that fact say about prospects for deeper and deeper U.S. engagement with the ASEAN nations?
Senator, thank you for the question. And I think my reflection on that fact is that it is a core interest, it is a national security interest of ours to build the capacity of ASEAN as an institution to allow the nations of ASEAN to speak collectively in a unified way, and importantly have the tools at their disposal to act on their self-interests. There's any number of those interests. You touch on territorial integrity and the issues of sovereignty. We are certainly committed to, and if confirmed, I would be committed to ensuring that ASEAN has the institutional capacity and that we are encouraging of their ability to collectively and collectivize some of their concerns that, in a way that would put them in the driver's seat in dealing with bigger countries in the region like the PRC.
The border disputes are largely in the South China Sea, and the U.S. is sort of committing a self-inflicted wound by not eventually ratifying the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. If the U.S. ratified that treaty, as every Secretary of Defense and every Secretary of State for the last decades has suggested we do, then we would have standing to help in pressing claims about border disputes in that area. We now don't have standing because of our refusal, which is amazing to me, our refusal to ratify that treaty. It's my hope that colleagues would eventually wake up to the need to do that. Let me ask you this. Senator Markey asked you about Burma and what you might do, obviously, to deal with the very, very difficult situation there. Secretary Blinken recently had some tough words for ASEAN, feeling that ASEAN had not really done enough. They've done some. Individual leaders have done some things. They've blocked Burmese leadership from attending ASEAN meetings on occasion. But as you look at what ASEAN could do to be more effective in Burma, talk about that a little bit.
Senator, thank you for the question. I would view our engagement with ASEAN as part of a larger whole of trying to affect change on the situation in Burma. I think ASEAN is an important part of our work with ASEAN would be an important part of that. I think building on the floor that was set with, to your point about the precedent that was set about non-political representation of Burma at key ASEAN meetings is an important floor that we need to build on and build from. I would view myself as part of a broader team, a multilateral component of a broader team that's really aimed at changing the regime's calculus. Some of that work will be done in bilateral context, and if I was confirmed, I would happily and enthusiastically work with, bilaterally or in small groupings in Jakarta with representatives from other ASEAN nations on ways in which we can continue to change the regime's calculus and continue to build an echo chamber around the cost that we've exacted on the regime.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chair.